And so the speaker can move directly into the knowledge of the destruction of the asavas. And so then he says, I directly knew as it actually is. This is suffering, this is its origin, its cessation. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. These are the asavas. This is the origin of the asavas. This is the cessation of the asavas. This is the way leading to the cessation of the asavas. When I knew and saw thus, my mind was liberated from the asava of sensual desire. Then it was liberated from the asava of craving for continued existence. And it was liberated from the asava of ignorance. And when it was liberated, then there came the knowledge that the mind is liberated, and I directly knew birth is destroyed. As I say, birth is finished. The holy life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more coming back to any state of being. And so then he says that it is by knowing thus, by seeing thus, friends, that in regard to this body, with its consciousness and all external signs, I-making, mind-making, and the underlying tendency to conceit have been eradicated in me. Okay, now, first, any question on this part that I've just covered? Okay, now comes a little interesting observation. First, look at the title of the sutta. The title is the Sixfold Purity, right? So that means that there should be 6 ways in which the monk declares final knowledge. But let's see how many we've covered. Okay, we've had the section on the seen, heard, sensed, and cognized. Okay, then that covers sections 3 and 4. Then we have the section on the 5 aggregates. That's section 5 and 6. So we have 2. Then we have the section on the 6 elements. That is section 7 and 8. So we have 3. Then we have the section on the 6 internal and external bases. This is paragraphs 9 and 10, so we have 4. Then we have the section on how one knows that I-making, mind-making, and underlying tendency to conceit have been eradicated. That comprises sections 11 up through 20. So we have five methods actually, of 5 declarations, but it's called a sixfold cleansing, which suggests that something has been lost in the sutta. And then if we turn to the note here, note 1063, this is on page 1322. It says MA, that means the commentary, the Majjhima Atthakatha, the commentary to the Majjhima Nikaya, finds it difficult to account for the sixfold mentioned in the original title, since only 5 questions and answers have come down in the discourse. it suggests dividing the last item into two. That is, one's own body with consciousness as one part, and then it says the conscious bodies of others as another part. But nothing like that is mentioned in the sutta itself. And then it also mentions another opinion which says that the four nutriments should be brought in as the sixth. In fact, I think if I remember, the commentary says that those across the ocean, or across the sea, say that the four nutriments should be brought in as the sixth. But I made these notes and prepared this edition, I think it was in 1988, something like that. So then I wrote, neither of these suggestions, however, appears cogent, and it seems likely that a part of the text has been lost. Okay, but then, my friend and former student, Bhikkhu Analayo, had done a very detailed comparison of suttas from the Majjhima Nikaya with their counterparts preserved in other transmissions, including the Chinese Agama transmission. And I also checked on this myself, looking at he discovered, and I checked on this to validate it. In the Chinese version of the Majjhima Agama, or the Majjhima Agama preserved in Chinese translation, we have this sutta in which there are 6 sections, and the 6th section is in fact the section on the 4 nutriments. Actually, in the Majjhima Agama version, that section is the second, not the 6th, but it fulfills 6 declarations. And so in the Majjhima Agama version, we have 6 sections in this way, in this order. First, the 5 aggregates. Then we have the section on the 4 nutriments. Then the section on the seen, heard, thought, and cognized. And then the section on the 6 internal sense bases, or internal and external sense bases. Or I think this version just expresses it by way of the 6 internal sense bases. So that is the 4th. Then the 5th is in terms of the 6 elements. The 5th is in terms of the 6 elements. And then the 6th section is in terms of the sequential training to eliminate I-making, mind-making, and conceit. And this version says, in regard to the 4 nutriments, it uses the same phrasing, it seems, that is used in regard to the seen, heard, sensed, and cognized. That is, I dwell unattracted, unrepelled, independent, detached, free, dissociated, with a mind rid of barriers. And the 4 nutriments, just in case you're not familiar with this formulation, sometimes called the 4 foods or the 4 kinds of sustenance. One of them is, or the first, is material food. That is, what we ordinarily call food, the stuff that we eat. I'm speaking like a commentator now. I've been reading the commentary to the Sutta Nipata, and where in the sutta it uses the word mother, it says female parent, father, the male parent. Okay, so the first nutriment is material food. The second nutriment is contact, because contact is what nourishes feeling. And then the third nutriment is mental volition, because mental volition is what creates karma and it's karma that nourishes the process of becoming. And then the fourth nutriment is vijnana, or consciousness, because consciousness is said to nourish or to sustain nama-rupa, that is the body and mind, the bodily and mental functions. Okay, so this will be our basic discussion of the sutta. So if anybody has any questions, please feel welcome to ask. Let me get my long distance. Anybody have questions? No questions? Okay. Wait, it's better to take the microphone so it gets recorded.
Perhaps by having the title Sixfold Purity, that the editor was trying to emphasize that was the sixfold, not just because it's more than 4 or 5, but that was the more thorough expression.
The more what?
Thorough.
Yeah.
More thorough, more complete.
Yeah.
Expression of understanding, and that was not necessarily that there were 6,
Mm-hmm.
but that the one that had 6 elements to it was the one that was to be that had the highest standing among the others.
Yeah, I don't think I would agree with that. Because I think when it says Chabbisodhana, sixfold purity or sixfold cleansing, it is implying that there were 6 sections. Since the version that's come down in the Majjhima Agama does have 6 sections, it seems that we should accept that has preserved the full text, and somehow that a section got lost in this transmission. Okay.
So it asked, does I-making, mind-making, and conceit maps to not I am, not mine, not the self in other suttas?
Okay, that's a good question. The question is whether this negation of I-making, mind-making, and conceit maps to the formula, this is not mine, this is not I, this is not myself. Yeah, the way the commentaries explain that statement, not mine, not I, not myself, they connect not the contemplation, this is not mine, with the negation of craving. And so definitely that one correlates exactly with the negation of mind-making. Then this is not I, the commentary connects to the negation of conceit. And so that seems to link up with this one on the commentarial explanation. And then the contemplation, this is not myself. Of course, the commentary, quite evidently links up with the negation of the view of self. But it seems here that maybe the correspondence is not so exact, because it seems to me that I-making can comprise both the view of self and conceit. And so it seems almost as though conceit here duplicates part of I-making. But maybe, as I said, my speculation that the Buddha mentioned it separately because it functions very prominently within people's mental lives. That's just my take on it. So I wouldn't, so you would say that more or less there's a correspondence, but one shouldn't be too sort of rigid and particular about trying to map out a correspondence.
So that's a question on my own. So when one sees the five aggregates and the mind starts to understand this concept of perhaps not I, not mine, not myself, does that happen for all five at one time? Or does it happen like the form aggregate first and then goes to the feeling and so forth, and finally one day perhaps even the consciousness aggregate?
Yeah. Certainly in the course, the regular course of training, one goes through them individually. And then when one gets the ability through the sharpening of mindfulness and the capacity for observation, then one is able to call up sort of mentally each aggregate separately. So just adverting to the body, material form, and then one observes this, not mine, not I, not myself. Then one brings up the feeling and starts observing the feelings, pleasant feelings, painful feelings arising and passing away. And then one applies to them the contemplation, not mine, not I, not myself. Then one brings up the perception by noting how, well, the noting itself is perceptual activity, but one brings up this flow, the sequence of perceptions, and then observes that these perceptions, not mine, not I, not myself. Then one brings up the volition. In this case, it would be the volition or the will to observe and contemplate, and then one reflects upon that willing or volitional activity as being not mine, not I, not myself. And then one turns to like the subtlest of the five is the consciousness aggregate, and observes that even that awareness of what's taking place is arising and passing away, it's impermanent, so it's not mine, not I, not myself. Perhaps in more advanced stages, one could bring all five together at once. But certainly to prepare the groundwork for that, one has to go through individually. Any further questions? Okay, then we'll end for the day. And we won't have a discussion period this afternoon, because actually I want to join, there's a retreat going on in the Kuan Hall, so I want to join that in the afternoon. And we won't have the class next week, because the retreat will still be in its last day, next Saturday. So the next class will be on, today is the 12th, 19th, 26th, April 26th. And that day we will be taking the Sappurisa Sutta, number 113. So it's a rather short sutta. Maybe we'll skip over. You could read this. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We'll take number 114 next time. Okay, so let us end with the sharing of the merits. I think we don't have the forms with the formula. They're up the hill. But if you know it, then you can just recite along. And this is to share the merits with the deities, the bhutas or fear spirits, the nagas or dragon spirits, and with all beings in the world, wishing them to be well and happy, and wishing the devas to protect the Buddha's teachings. Akasata chabumata deva naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakantu sasanang, akasata chabumata, deva naga mahidika, punyantang anumoditva, chirang rakantu desanang, akasata chabumata, deva naga mahidika, punyantang anumoditva, chirang rakantu mang parang. Etavatacham hehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe devanumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etavatacham hehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe bhutanumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etavatacham hehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe satanumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Bhavagupadaya avici hetato etantare satakayupapanna rupi arupi cha asanya sanyino dukkha pamuchantu pusantu nibhutim. We can stand and we end with 3 bows to the Buddha. So I will get the chime.